Bam Adebayo to the Celtics, the trade package, and who Boston gives up. If you're a Celtics fan, you've already felt this. The team is strong, but they get to big games and seem to be missing that guy who holds the bottle, protects the rim, and keeps the wheels turning. And here comes the question that is exploding today. Bam Adebayo in Boston. Is it a dream or can it really happen? Stay with me until the end of the video. I'll show you the most realistic package, who would leave Boston, which picks are included, and especially if this trade solves the Celtics' biggest pain without destroying the future. In the end, you will know. Does it make sense, or is it crazy? Before I show you the complete package and who leaves Boston, let me ask you for 10 seconds that make a big difference for us. If you like the NBA and Celtics, subscribe now because our goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers. And reaching that changes the game for the channel. It helps YouTube deliver more of our videos, strengthens the community, and allows us to provide better and more frequent analysis. And enjoy. Leave a like so this video reaches more fans, activate the bell so you don't miss the next bombshells, and quickly comment, BAM, yes or no. I want to see your opinion. Did it close? So stay with me, because now I'm going to show you the most realistic scenario, the exact pieces and why this swap can be brilliant or a disaster. Let's go. When I look at this Boston Celtics season, I have the feeling of watching one of those films where the script insists on going against logic. Because if someone told me back then that the team would be fighting at the top of the East without Jason Tatum playing a single minute, I would probably respond with a polite smile and a huge doubt inside. But the reality was precisely this. The Celtics not only survived, they found ways to be dominant. And that's where the story gets even more interesting, because dominating doesn't always mean convincing. Do you feel this too? We look at the table, we see important victories, we see consistency, we see an attack functioning at a very high level, and yet there is a comma in the conversation when it comes to the title. It's as if the team had done everything right but was still missing that definitive stamp that makes the entire league say, okay, now it's serious. And this comma has a name, it has a shape, and it has a very clear address. The big box, the rim protection, the type of physical and intelligent presence that changes the level of a defense in the playoffs. What draws the most attention, and I say this as someone who follows the Celtics with one eye as a fan and the other as an observer, is the way in which the attack remained among the best in the NBA, even without the main face of the franchise. This is no small detail. It's a sign of structure. It is a sign that the squad has organization, reading, collective creation, reliable shooters, and a system that does not depend on a single player to exist. That alone should automatically put Boston among the favorites. But basketball, especially when April and May arrive, demands another currency. It demands difficult points, ugly possessions, physical play, and above all, the ability to resist when things go out of plan. And that's where the defense, today, appears as a point that doesn't fit with the Celtics' classic image. When I see this defense number in the bottom half of the top of the league, something like 15th place, I understand why so many analyses still come with a caveat. Not because the Celtics are a weak team, far from it, but because the standard of a champion is almost always the standard of a team that defends with identity. And defensive identity in this context is not just effort. It's about having the right pieces, the right fittings, the rim protection that discourages infiltrations, the exchange that doesn't become an automatic advantage for the opponent, the defensive rebound that ends the possession and gives peace of mind to run or organize. Without Tatum, the margin is smaller. With Tatum, it gets better. But the question that is in the air is simple and uncomfortable. Does it improve enough? And it is in this space between the team is great and, but is it possible to be a champion like that? That ideas for exchanges begin to emerge. And I'll be very honest with you, not every exchange idea deserves attention, because a lot of things circulate just to generate noise. But every now and then a proposal appears that, despite being bold, makes us stop and think for a few extra minutes. That was exactly the feeling I had when I saw the idea published by Bleacher Report. A trade that would put Bam Adebayo in Boston. Just reading the name changes the atmosphere of the conversation, doesn't it? Bam is not just a good center. He is a multiple-time all-star player with a high-level impact on both ends of the court. He is one of those athletes who don't need to score 30 points to dominate a game, because he dominates with presence, with reading, with mobility, with versatility. Bam can score on the perimeter for a few seconds without collapsing. He can hold pick and roll. He can protect the rim. He can close down the rebound. He can accelerate the transition with a short and smart pass. And, in attack, he is not a post standing still waiting for the ball. He participates in the game. He connects the pieces. He continues the plays. He's the type of player who makes a team more complete immediately. Now let's bring this to our real world. It's one thing to like the name, it's another to face the price. And this proposal is heavy. The idea involves the Celtics getting Bam Adebayo and Justin Champagnie. The Miami Heat would receive Anfernee Simons, Hugo Gonzalez, a 2026 first-round pick from Boston, a 2030 first-round pick via trade, a 2031 first-rounder, and a 2031 second-rounder, the least favorable of Boston or Cleveland via the Celtics. And the Washington Wizards would go down in history to make the salaries fit, receiving Sam Hauser, a second-round pick from Brooklyn in 2026 via Miami, with protection at the end of the draft, and a second-round pick from Boston in 2032. When you see 3 first-round picks leaving, your first reaction is to freeze, and it's healthy to break, because the first round is not just a number on paper, it is the future, it is flexibility, it is currency for future exchanges, it is protection in case something goes wrong. In a league where the balance is brutal and an injury changes everything, giving up this type of resource is a move that requires conviction and requires perfect reading of the title window. At the same time, there is another side that we need to face with maturity. Choices don't come into play, and if you have a real chance of winning now, with a strong core and a working system, many franchises accept paying a lot for a piece that closes the gaps in the squad. But there is a special element here, which is Tatum's context. This season has an emotional asterisk for Celtics fans because the team is doing great without him, but no one knows exactly how and when he returns and at what level he returns. It's not just getting back to playing, it's being him again. And being him means returning with confidence, explosiveness, rhythm, decision-making, and, above all, without the feeling that the body is still asking for care. That's why this idea from Bam attracts so much attention, because deep down, it touches on the pain that many people avoid saying out loud. What if Tatum doesn't come back 100%? It's not what we want, but it's a legitimate question. And in an office like Brad Stevens, I imagine this question exists every day, not as pessimism, but as planning. You don't build a real contender by pretending that risk doesn't exist. You build by looking the risk in the face and deciding what's worth it. If the Celtics' bet is that Tatum returns this season and returns at the level that transforms the team, perhaps the best decision is not to change anything, because then Boston gains a reinforcement that was already on the squad, improves the defense naturally with his presence, and still maintains resources for minor adjustments. However, if there is any sign of more prolonged uncertainty, the conversation changes, and it changes quickly, because the Celtics, even without Tatum, have already shown that they have the structure to compete. Imagine what it would be like to add an elite defender in the paint and an all-star presence to balance the weight of the playoffs. And here comes the most delicate part. Bam is in a season below his previous peak, at least compared to what he has already shown. This makes the discussion even more dangerous because you can look at it from 2 completely different angles. The first angle is fear. We are going to pay dearly for someone who is not in the best moment. The second angle is that of opportunity. If it is below expectations, perhaps it is precisely when the market opens a gap. But this silver lining in a player like him never comes cheap. And the Heat, especially the Heat, don't usually accept losing a star without gaining a package that makes sense for a new cycle. In fact, for Miami to truly consider trading Bam, the organization would have to be convinced that it needs to restart the project. This doesn't happen on a whim. It happens when you look at your squad and understand that you won't get where you need to be or when the window closes. And, if that happens, picks turn into gold. 3 first rounds with years spread out, saw a base to rebuild. You give your front office a chance to control the future. So, on the Heat side, the logic would be, if we have to give up Bam, let it be for a package that gives us back potential and flexibility. On the Celtics side, the logic would be different. What exactly do I gain from this? And here is where I think the idea becomes more concrete. The Celtics would gain a type of defense that today fluctuates. I would gain an anchor that organizes the bottle and improves the lives of everyone on the perimeter. Because good rim defense changes the opponent's behavior. Players hesitate more, throw more contests of them, choose worse paths. And that's half the defensive job, making the opponent make worse decisions than he would like. Furthermore, Bam gives versatility to exchanges, helps with coverage, corrects positioning errors, and delivers a type of consistency that appears a lot when the game gets tense. Now, let's talk about what hurts for the fans, because you can't pretend it doesn't hurt. Involving Sam Hauser in any conversation already touches the heart of those who understand the value of a pitcher who knows his role and doesn't hide. And the idea of leaving with so many first-round picks is scary because it seems like all or nothing. But Boston, historically recent, has already shown that it is not afraid of this path. Brad Stevens made huge moves to bring in Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. And these moves were part of what transformed the squad into a more complete, more mature, and more prepared machine for big games. So, when we discuss a bombastic trade, we are not talking about a team that is terrified of decisions. We are talking about a team that has already proven that it knows how to be aggressive when it sees the right opportunity. And there's one more element that I don't like to leave out: the final opponent. Today, when you think about titles, you can't ignore the fact that there is a team that appears as the favorite in many projections, and the name that many people put at the top is the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, any decision by the Celtics, any trade talk, cannot be made thinking only about improving. It needs to be made thinking about improving in the right way. Improve to beat the best. Improve to survive long series, against attacks that push you to the limit, and against defenses that take away your comfort. If you believe that Bam elevates Boston to that level, the conversation changes. If you think it's too expensive for the real impact, then the debate gets even hotter. What I like about this type of topic, and that's exactly why it makes for a strong video here on the Celtics Talk Show, is that it's not black and white. There is no perfect answer. There is cost, there is risk, and there is a window. And the Celtics window, with the current core, is now. At the same time, the Celtics also have a responsibility not to blow up the future on impulse. So the question that I leave hanging between us, almost like a personal challenge, is, what is the exact point at which aggression turns into wisdom? And what is the point at which it turns into despair? If I were talking to you in the room, I'd say it like this. I completely understand the fascination with imagining Bam Adebayo wearing green. I understand because it solves real things. He speaks to the pain of the fan who watches some games and thinks, why does the big box seem so vulnerable at certain moments? He speaks to the anxiety of those who want to guarantee the best possible scenario if Tatum's return is not immediately perfect. And he speaks with that almost emotional need to look at the cast and feel peace. Okay, now we're ready for any type of series. But I also can't ignore the price. 3 first rounds are not just 3 picks. It's a decision that defines years. And when you add the factor that Bam is below his prime this season, you create an additional risk. The risk of paying for a version that isn't the best. But at the same time, there is also the argument that a player like him in a well-matched team can recover his level and even appear better than he was, because the context changes, and context in basketball is almost everything. In the end, what I want to build here with you is an honest reading. This bombastic negotiation is, above all, a mirror. It reflects the questions the Celtics need to answer internally. It reflects the league's feeling that Boston is very good, but still has a step up defensively. And it reflects how central Tatum's name is to any plan, even when the team is already winning without him. From then on, any direction becomes possible. The Celtics can choose to trust the return and adjust details, or you can choose to protect the window and make a giant move. And now I really want to hear you, because this topic is not complete without the voice of the fans. If this trade were a real possibility, would you pay that price for Bam? Would you give up 3 first-round picks to transform the defense and ensure more stability in the playoffs? Or would you prefer to hold on to the future, believe in Tatum's return, and maintain flexibility for another type of movement? I have my opinion, but I want to build on it with you in the comments because that's where the Celtics talk show comes most alive. When we debate as people, with passion and argument, without deluding ourselves and without reducing ourselves to a ready-made sentence. And whatever the path, one thing is certain. The Boston Celtics have already made it clear that they are not here just to have a good season. This here to play the last game. The question is, which decision will transform this dispute into conquer? And this is where things get serious. If this talk about Bam Adebayo in Boston is just internet noise, it has already served one very clear purpose, showing that the Celtics are at a point where any minimal adjustment becomes a championship decision, because the team has already proven that it can win even without Tatum, but the playoffs are unforgiving. When the game gets tough, the opponent goes exactly where it hurts. And the question that keeps lingering is simple and brutal. Will Boston trust 100% in Tatum's return and keep the future intact? Or will it press the all-in button and try to close the biggest hole on the roster with an elite all-star? Now, I really want to hear from you. Would you make this trade for Bam? Would you deliver this package of picks and pieces to transform the bottle and reach the playoffs with a defense that commands respect? Or do you think the price is too high and that the Celtics already have enough when Tatum returns? Comment below, Bam, yes, or Bam, no. And if you can, explain in one sentence why, because I will read and respond as much as possible. And before you leave, do the following. Go to the pinned comment now and click on the Celtics Analyses playlist. There, I left the most complete analyses of the channel. Rotations, adjustments, defense, trade targets, what works and what concerns, all organized for you to marathon and understand the Celtics in detail. Watch the next video on the playlist because it complements exactly this debate today and will open your mind to see the team from a different lens. Sign up, leave a like, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next bombshells. Because if this Celtics window calls for a big move, the next news could change everything from one moment to the next. We'll see you in the next video. And remember, this is the Celtics Talk Show, and here we don't cut corners. We analyze to win.